Hello, I'm Jane Scherner from writewithjane.com. And today I'm talking to Jodie Davey about her wonderful new book, Leadership, Keeping It Simple. Hello, Jodie, and welcome.
Jane, how are you?
I'm well, thank you. And I'm really keen to delve in a little bit more about the genesis of this book, because I understand it was written by popular demand, because always in your workshops you were being asked, do you have a book on this?
That's right.
And I'd just love to hear more about what you do in the workshops that motivate people to that extent.
Okay, absolutely. So, look, my journey in education started some 30 odd years ago when I was a teacher, and still am a teacher, but 5 years ago branched out into primarily working with other teachers and school leaders and providing professional learning opportunities for them through the way of workshops and consultancy work. And one of my workshops is called Leadership, Keeping It Simple. And it was really trying to take the complexities out of leadership. I know they're there, but looking at it through the simplistic lens, I guess, of self-mastery. What are the things that we as leaders have complete control over? Our ability to listen, our emotional intelligence development, our relationship development, things that we can literally go and act differently tomorrow and become a better leader for it. So that was one of my workshops, probably one of the most popular across the country, to be fair. And whilst the participants get a workbook that they work through during the day, teachers love books. And I've got books behind me and in front of me and next to me, and I'm a testament to that, absolutely. So continually I was asked, I'd love a book, sort of something that they can refer back to it and keep in their bag and take notes in and highlight bits and pieces and post-it note and all of those sorts of things. So I guess during COVID, we weren't traveling as much as we normally were, and I had a little bit of extra time, so decided to put it together. And it really is a simple playbook, if you like, of how to, I guess, master ourselves as leaders. One of the key things in the book I talk about is there's no perfect way to lead. And if you are a leader that's trying to please everybody else all of the time, it'll never work. So it's a real reflection on what kind of leader do I want to be? Who's a leader that I would follow? What is it that I admire about other leaders? And how can I morph that into my own leadership style? So that's where it was sort of, I guess, born over the last 4 or 5 years. A couple of years ago, I met a beautiful editor named Kelly Nissen, who actually participated in one of my workshops around coaching and then again in the leadership one, and was transitioning from a teacher into an editor. And she was the one that I guess really sort of fired me up and said, come on, let's get this finished. You can do it and get it out there. Because I think like many people, we start writing a book and the idea is exciting, but then to actually knuckle down and finish it and I guess have that courage to get it out there, that was a big step that I, would really like to thank Kelly for. So she was just fabulous.
Yeah, she is fabulous. This is 2 Kelly fans we've got here. I unreservedly refer my clients onto Kelly, whether it's for proofreading, whether it's for editing, but she definitely knows her stuff. But the beautiful synergy between the two of you, both being ex-teachers, and I know that Kelly still does a lot of teachers' notes and what have you. So you're both so passionate about education.
Yeah.
But what I also love about the fact that you have come out with a book now, that then makes that material available to people who aren't lucky enough to get a workshop or consultancy time with you, and or others who maybe don't think they're ready for that yet. A book's a wonderful bridge it can build between the person who needs the help, and they get great value out of the book, but there's nothing quite like sitting down with a person and being able to nut out your big, awful problems that you may not want to talk to people about very much. But, because teaching, it's one of the most important, in my point of view. I have now a 21-year-old daughter, but you're taking your kids through school. You want the teachers to have all the support they need, because this is a complex world. It's not getting any simpler. And for teachers to feel confident in their own ability and to be able to pass that confidence and the knowledge they have on to children who can, and they're not always children. Think of 18-year-olds. I mean, You know, you've got the ones who are very, very directed and want to go somewhere, and the other ones who'd rather be anywhere.
Absolutely, Jane. Yeah, look, teaching is complex. And what I say to all of the teachers that I meet, and I work with about 3,000 or 4,000 teachers every year across Australia, is that you don't have to be in a leadership position to be a leader. In fact, they're not one and the same. So every teacher that stands in front of their students every day is leading, because ultimately leadership is about the influence you have on other people. Now that's teaching, you know, in a nutshell. So this book, even if you're not in a leadership role, and many people say to me, oh, I'm not in a leadership role, or I don't necessarily want to be in a leadership role, but I'd like to self-develop my leadership skills. This book is perfect because it really talks about, as I mentioned, those self-mastery skills that we have complete control over. It will actually help you be a better practitioner in the classroom because of the impact and influence you're having over your students. So it's really designed, yeah, not just for aspiring leaders or people that are new to leadership, but even those that just want to generally work on and build their own capacity in terms of impact and influence on other people.
I love that. I love that. Another market I could see also is anyone contemplating going into teaching. That would be, you know, they wouldn't necessarily think that that's something that would help them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sort of match themselves to, you know, development that they could be doing on themselves to equip them to get into a profession that's really challenging.
Absolutely. And whilst I wrote it with the, I guess, the lens of a teacher and leader, as someone who has been a teacher and has worked in many leadership roles within school and educational settings, I've had actually a number of sales from people that aren't teachers. They're not in education. And whilst my examples in most chapters do reflect a school setting, or I tell some personal stories about situations that I was in schools, they are able to transpose that into their current context and their current setting. And the feedback I've had from them is that it's been a really uplifting, inspiring step in their leadership journey, even though they're not in the field of education, which is really not how I was planning when I wrote it, but it's wonderful feedback that I've been receiving.
Well, it is wonderful, isn't it? Because leadership is leadership and self-mastery is self-mastery. There's nobody alive who doesn't need those skills.
That's right.
Inspiring to, you know, even just have the life that they want to lead. It could be a simple life. This doesn't have to, you don't have to be Tony Robbins.
That's right.
I want the self-mastery piece of the puzzle.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic. And where to for here? What's on the agenda moving forward? Is there a second book? Is there an online program? How are things looking for you?
Yeah, so look, we have six programs that we run throughout Australia in all capital cities and a few regional towns as well we get to when we can. When COVID first kind of struck us and we weren't able to travel and things like that, I created 4 courses as an online course version. Where I pre-recorded all of the videos, etc., etc. And those are still available. And whilst in 2020, they were very, very popular because nobody could move around. These days we can move around a little more and people do enjoy getting back face-to-face in workshops because you do get to interact with others and learn so much in that setting. They are still available. And those, I've had teachers in remote communities and things like that can't actually get to workshops still take those options. So they're still there. This was the first book. In my mind, there's a series. So I always did have a Keeping It Simple series. So my workshops and the work I do in schools is around leadership, it's around coaching, it's around mentoring, and it's around difficult conversations and challenging some of those negative situations that we're sometimes in, that we shy away from actually having the conversation. So they're key areas that I work in. So in my mind, there was always a Keeping It Simple series. So coaching, keeping it simple, mentoring, keeping it simple. And again, not writing a 500-page novel, keeping it to about 100 pages with clear guidelines, simple points of reference, so that teachers and leaders could just pick it up and get those important messages really quickly and easily. So Does that mean I'm ready to jump into it right now? I'm not sure. Kelly, who we've already mentioned, is on my case about getting started on number 2. So I guess it's a watch this space.
Beautiful.
So far, I mean, we've only been out a couple of weeks now, and it's the sales have been incredible, and I'm so thrilled with how many people have jumped on board. So you never know, maybe the second one is sooner than we realize. Who knows?
Fantastic. And for people who are interested in what you've mentioned in terms of your other programs, there will be a slide at the end of this recording with details to go through and just check out exactly what else you have available.